Hi guys, Togre here with a new video, and has been a while I didn't post a video on this channel. I'm going to try to be more consistent. Kind of took a break, so I have like my batteries a bit recharged. Took a break from retail pretty much. Did I stop completely retail? I would be lying if I said yes. I still am playing a bit of retail, although very casually, very like with a side eye pretty much. But I'm playing mostly classic. I try to find a balance. But this patch note that I'm reading currently does give me more hope about retail. Although there are still people that are going to complain about balancing, it is just something that is always going to happen. But I do like the fact that they are trying to try to put developer notes on most things when they change, except like those 8% increase. I don't know why they're not like talking about it, for example. Like for example, the mage getting 8% increased damage on arcane. That's fine, but why? Like those things should be a bit more motivated, but most of those changes are like with a motivation behind it, which is very, very cool. And as you may know, I am a PvPer first. I would say I will try to do a bit more PvE, but it's very hard. I don't know how it's difficult for me to find like just a simple guild on retail. While on classic, I find it a guild like in an instant because they are more like active in the chats. They are like easier to find, in my opinion. While, for example, the guild finder tool that you have on retail, it feels like it is a bit abandoned. That if you're applying, you don't really get like an answer, or like you don't know what happened with the application, for example. But like that's something. Maybe it's probably a me problem. But I'm looking into PVE as well. I just need to have like that extra push from someone to be able to do so. I don't know. But like PvP, I am not gonna lie, most of the things that I am not liking about PvP is the availability of queues. I think the queue times are a bit too harsh for me, and that is always going to be happening, I think. It's always going to be a thing. It might be like a server thing, it might be a EU thing. Like if I see like NA getting like 1 minute queue times for random BGs, I don't get those on EU. My queue times on social shuffles are still 20 minutes. My solo QRBGs queue times are also 20 minutes for some reason, as a DPS. And yes, you could then play healer, but yeah, you kind of force yourself into a role that you maybe not like. It's not really fun. I can have fun as a healer, but I don't like to be forced into like a role to have like game time. I don't like that. But I would say that the patch itself is into the right direction where I can maybe see myself to play again retail a lot more. Those changes are already listed, talked about, read through by multiple YouTubers, multiple Twitchers, multiple people that are already like this said their opinion about those changes. I have my opinion. I feel like right now it's difficult for me to talk about my opinions because I'm not really active anymore that much, but I will be more active, and then my opinion will be a bit more heard by you guys, hopefully. But I would say that the one thing that really makes me want to play the game again, in PvP at least, are the nerfs towards healing. Yes, yes, yes. We want healers to play healing, like healer in PvP, but they are like too strong when they do, and makes the matches being very boring. The issue is that if you're playing multiple expansions, you do feel like, okay, this is the right approach to healing, and this is definitely not the right approach to healing. My ideal situation to healing is that a healer should be able to heal through doing damage. So the games would end faster. And the healing done should be limited. It should not be like crazy amount of heals, so yo-yoing your HP pool here and there. That should not happen. That should really not happen, in my opinion. Now, that's again a very, very hot take. I think a lot of people don't like that healers can do damage. I personally kind of like it because I come from a background from World of Warcraft, classic TBC, RAF, where healers could actually do something damage-wise. Like even like a Paladin could play like Preg pretty much in Wrath of the Lich King, where you are dealing damage and you are healing and you are tanky. I'm coming also from Warhammer Online, where literally healers could do also gigantic amount of damage in 1v1s. I come from Dark Age of Camelot, where you also have like healers that are very, very buff heavy, like for example the Bard, and you have healers where you can actually deal some significant damage here and there. So you have, again, I think healing is the most fun when you're able to be carrying things. And in Soul Shuffle, it is not the case. Now, Soul Shuffle is a different like trope. I think for me, Soul Shuffle, I kind of write it off right now because I think the queue times are too ridiculous for DPS. But the one bracket I really, really enjoy, and I feel like you can play with anyone, with a friend or with a pug or with someone from LFG, it is a 2v2 bracket. The 2v2 bracket needs to be a very nervous one. It should be you quick, you go in, you can do double DPS, and you can maybe win because you have overwhelming amount of damage. And you could lose because they have a healer that is like doing well and he stops every single go. That is a deserving win. But if the healer messes up, he should be losing. That's how I see. That's how I like my 2v2s. That's how I like into TBC and Wrath. You could actually play double DPS and do well. Even in Cataclysm, you can play double DPS and do well. I think a rogue mage played well should be able to win games and not auto lose because they're facing a disc priest with a, I don't know, Retribution Paladin or a disc priest with a warrior. It should be that you have matchups where, okay, it's hard, but if the disc priest messes up, I'm going to win. It should be something like that. Now, it is not the case. The matches are way too long, so obviously double DPS is not a thing anymore. And they're like trying to nerf it now. So we have 2v2 arena matches. They're going to start with an additional 10% healing reduction. I don't know how much healing reduction it is from the get-go. I think it was 20%, but I might be mistaken, so it should like be around 30%. But if someone tells me in the comment section below, I'm sure we can like find the right amount. I think that's already a good start. I think healing should be harder because the game is balanced around Mythic Plus. It just is what it is. And in Mythic Plus, the mechanics are like insta kills or everyone loses HP, so you have to be able to heal AoE very well. Like you have a lot of stuff in Mythic Plus that makes it that they need the throughput, but in PvP it should not be the case that you are full healing people by pressing the wrong buttons. That should not be happening. It should also not happen that you're able to heal through DPS CDs at the start of a match without using your own CDs. That should not happen. So that's something I want to say that it's a good change, the 10%. And I would even say it's also a good change about the rated battlegrounds and battleground blitz. All healing done is now reduced by 10%, which I think in random BGs should also be the case. I think they're forgetting that random BGs is the tourist card for the people that want to start with rated battlegrounds or rated content. You need to put skirmishes and random BGs again on the map to the point where people want to play rated, want to progress, want to get better, want to get more loot, for example, want to be able to progress through the ranks. I think that's something that they kind of forget about, and hopefully they're going to change it. But for now, I think it's good. I think we have like good changes with that, which is the 10% and the other 10% from 2v2 and from the rated battlegrounds and how it's called, battleground blitz. But yeah, we'll have to see how much it will affect. The thing is with rated battlegrounds, my issue again, same for Soul Shuffle, are the queue times, and I would like to have rewards for 2v2 again. Like 2v2 should have Glad. I think Soul Shuffle should have Glad, and rated battleground blitz and rated battlegrounds should also be with a Glad title. And you can call it something else than Glad, but you need to reward it with a mount, with a recolor. Even if it's a more ugly mount, I don't care. It should have a special thing that is going to be able to have and attract people to play on them. I also think still, I already made like multiple guides about it like in the past, but I will try to do it again. 2v2 is the entry point for arenas. No one can actually deny it. 2v2 is easier to play, that's the truth. If you're playing healer, DPS, You only have to heal 2 targets. You have to only kill 2 targets. You can swap between those targets. The CC is less overwhelming, although it's less easy to stop for sure, because there's only one guy that helps you. So if you're CC'd and the other guy CC'd, cross CC'd, but basically there is no way to get out pretty much. While in 3v3 to have a cross CC from 3 different people is something that is likely not going to happen. But that is something that needs to be addressed again. I think it should be that 2v2 is the first thing coming to mind if you want to do arenas. And I know 3v3 is the most competitive mode, and that's fine. I don't care. And that's also the mode that has the most rewards. That's also fine. But I think 2v2 should be encouraged way more, so it actually has a player base that is worthy to be called a player base, which is not really the case these days. It feels like if you're playing 2v2 above 1800, you're playing versus the same teams over and over and over again. So that's my opinion. Now, if we're talking about the other stuff, obviously there's not only the 10-10, but there's also the things that they are like saying, and they are finally talking about, like extra comments about the changes they're doing. For example, we're aiming to improve Death Knight's defense against other melee specialization while increasing the damage of some underperforming abilities. Finally, they're seeing Bloodforged armor and they say, oh, it's maybe not enough. Well, they get a buff, and that's an active ability they're going to have to press, which is Death Strike, to get a defensive. Something that is actually very good for the health of the game. It's not like passive, it's not something easy to... It's not, let someone die. It's not easy because I'm also playing at the same time. You cannot see because, again, it's classic. Who cares for you guys? You're not really playing classic, I think. But in general, you want to have and like reward abilities that are going to be actively pressed to get like a defensive than a pure passive defensive. That's not something you want. Okay, so that's a good thing. Also, like Soul Reaper, which always did like not a lot of damage, but finally gets a lot of damage. So now when the target is like 35% below, it is actually worthy to have the Soul Reaper proc. That's good. I like that. Also, abilities that are like basically not played in PvP because like the other hero tons are better. Vampiric Strike. It's also good for the game. Again, you want to have abilities that are meaningful to press and not only like those mega abilities that you're going to press every single time. So that's a good thing as well. Here, the balance rate as well. Here, finally, people are going to talk about their motivation behind the changes. For example, we're increasing the damage of multiple balance spells and reduce the spec reliance on Harmony of the Grove for burst potential. They're also looking to increase the spec survivability by removing the PvP reduction. Boom! We know a bit more what they are going to, what's their goal about those changes. Like, if they didn't talk about that, they would not like make you understand that, okay, Harmony of the Grove is a problem, but they're going to compensate it by buffing other abilities. For example, Moonfire and Sunfire, which did like not a lot of damage these days. And Frenzied Regeneration, which basically healed for nothing as Balance Druid and Resto Druid, now heals back again. For example, Resto Druid can finally go bare form and survive. So that's a good thing. We have here, for example, a nerf towards mobility, because mobility is a problem in this game. The issue with mobility is, if you nerf something, you have to nerf everything, because then it is balanced. If you have only like Feral Druids being nerfed, that's not great, because Feral Druid should be the embodiment of actual mobility. Alright? What else? We have, for example, the mages. A lot of talk about that as well. We're adding some reduction to the power of mage mobility and defensives, with emphasis on arcane, because they're too tough to kill. Overpowered barrier is something we're excited to see used, because it's a good PvP taunt with a good idea, but we feel the 5 seconds duration is too high. Encourage the gameplay we want from this gameplay, which is for enemies to consider waiting for the barrier to expire, so you will have to have a weak aura for that. It is what it is. Unfortunately, Blizzard is not going to be good at changing that, unfortunately, but whatever. Weak aura, you see overpowered barrier, do not touch it, 4 seconds, and then you can go, for example. reducing its duration to encourage that. This also reduces its defensive value since it has indeed been a bit overpowered. So that's a good text. That's something that you can understand. Imagine you just removed the developer note and you saw that whole wall of defensive nerfs. You would maybe not understand. But now they actually told you what their aim is about the changes. You can maybe understand, you can maybe not agree, but at least you can have an understanding on why they do that. You don't need to agree. Agreeing is something else. You could understand someone and not agree. So that's something I wanted to discuss as well. A lot of these nerfs, blah, 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 everyone already read that, but I'm very happy about what they're talking about. For hunters, unfortunately, they're not really talking about it, but it's a pretty normal thing to understand. is just doing too much damage these days. I would probably have nerfed something else than Black Arrow, but it is what it is. Windwalker, I think that's also pretty logical. The damage was too high, especially on slicing winds. Getting critted for 2.5 million is a bit too much. They're nerfing. It's maybe not enough in my opinion, but they're nerfing, they're trying. And they're going to also buff the celestial conduit healing because it's not really noticeable. That's something they're also writing it here, which basically is, they should have written here, probably the developer note, but whatever. And they're nerfing last temperance capacitator to 300% instead of 400% per stack. Why not? Then you have mistweaver general throughput has been lacking since changes to Jade empowerment, and we would like celestial conduit to be a more impactful cooldown, as its effect can feel lackluster when split between several players. Again, we're like understanding what's up, and what happens is mana regeneration is now reduced by 40% instead of 50%, so you will have a bit more mana regen. You have more healing on Celestial Conduit. You have Vivify being increased as well, an active ability you're going to press, not just a hot, but also press. Enveloping Mist, which is a very important ability as well, and Renewing Mist, which is a hot, again, not really healing too much these days. Now it is going to try to heal more. They're buffing actively the heals as well, because again, you're nerfing the dampening, you're nerfing the whole healer aspect with the damage increase from other characters, from other classes, so you have to compensate with healing a bit more increased. You have Paladins, for example, Blinding Light, finally a quality of life change where they're no longer removing the dots effects from enemy players. That's good. So you can actually play with a warlock and, like, again, not make him cry, for example. Divine Protection now reduces damage taken by an additional 5% in PvP combat. Also good. Again, defensive help towards Holy Paladin. Although I think Holy Paladin kind of needs more. I don't know if they're like changed anything above. I haven't read everything yet. Retribution Paladin here, for example, we're pulling back on a few Retribution Paladin's negative PvP multipliers, which should have happened way before, but finally it is going to happen. Avenging Wrath, 15% instead of 10%. That's good. An active CD you're going to press, you will do more damage. Blade of Justice, a filler ability pretty much, going to deal a bit more damage. That's good. And Divine Protection, also decreasing more damage instead of like having 10%, it will be 15%. Also good for Retribution Paladins. And then you have again a developer note here and there. So you have this priest, the same. Mana is not a factor in 2v2 and 2v3. Now it will, because now the mana regen has been reduced to 45% instead of 30%. So good luck with that. You will have to drink sometimes. You will have to see your mana and say, oh, we have to finish the game. So that's a good thing. Evangelism also, healing reduction by 25% in PvP combat. A very good change. The healing taken bonus from the Undermine class 4 set is now effective to 20% in PvP combat instead of 50%, because it is way too strong. Then you have Holy Paladin, a Holy Priest as well. A lot of changes, and that could make me sway finally Holy Priest outside of that lower tier healing towards the higher tier healing. Now I don't think it's not going to be the most strong healer, because you still need to cost a lot of your spells, which is Flash Heal and Heal, but it will at least do something. Flash Heal increase 8%, Mana Regen reduced to 50 instead of 65%, Serenity, Sanctify, and Prayer of Mending 8% as well. It is going to feel a bit better for them to heal, and that's going to be a compensation towards the dampening as well. So you're not going to be affected as much as, let's say, a Disc Priest, for example. Again, changes on the Elemental Shaman changes. Stormbringer Tempest damage increased by 20%. they had a change. For example, above you can see on the elemental shaman change, which I kind of liked it, which is they're going to improve the cast abilities: lava burst, lightning bolt, ice fury. You have frost shock, primordial wave now regening more maelstrom, and also primordial wave finally doing more damage because it actually did less than a flame shock pretty much. Now it will do 500% more damage. Is it going to be like meaningful? I don't know, but I think it's in the right direction as well. So those are the things that you kind of need to understand. They're going to try to change the game towards a better place, and they're active at that. Now they need to still do every 2 weeks balancing. If they're not doing that, it's going to fall flat on their face again, like it was on season 1. If they change every 2 weeks, the meta will change and everyone will be happy at one point. Enhancement Shaman, again, trying to change the consistent damage and have a bit less burst damage, but they're also trying to make you survive a bit more. Again, compensation towards the dampening changes from 2v2 and rated battlegrounds. And then you have, again, a class set that's going to get nerfed, and they're trying to buff a warrior damage towards execute, blaze, or demolish, which is a bit weird, in my opinion, because I think they should just like put more power into other stuff, I think, outside of, because this is going to push you into Slayer, which is fine, but I guess whatever. But I wanted to discuss really quickly about the changes, but also talk about my opinion about what was good about this patch note. I think all those changes, they are fine from what I've read and from what I've heard, but I think what I'm excited about is that they put more emphasis on explaining stuff to players. You have to explain to the players why you change specific stuff. And the same for the changes towards 2v2 and rated battleground blitz and battleground blitz. Battleground blitz and rated battlegrounds. This is good for the health of the game. You want no stalemates. And in 2v2 you get a lot of stalemates, 7-minute matches, still a lot of mana, and the issue is basically that you cannot heal at one point. But that should happen way before. It should be that you're going to have to spend a lot of mana to survive, and at one point everyone has no mana and someone has to win. Or by good usage to CC, good usage to swapping targets, you can actually win faster, for example. So that's my opinion. Again, am I back 100% on retail? I don't know. I still think that I gotta maybe accept that I have to play healer. Maybe I can just focus on 2v2s and that's it, and just like be a 2v2 Andy pretty much. I could do that as well. Maybe do like challenges like a DPS only, like double DPS only comp with someone and try to go as high as possible. Why not? Could be also quite fun. I think those kind of things could be more my thing instead of like waiting in queues, which is not really what I want for myself. I'm also thinking about other content, maybe League of Legends, because I'm still like playing a bit more League of Legends these days. I'm actually enjoying it. I don't know. I'm like just wanted to make this video to clarify that I do think they have the right direction with how they are approaching the balance changes. Again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.